A verdict of obedience of the Sharia court on a disobedient Muslim wife. This is a love story that was written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. Copyright. All rights are reserved. All characters in this book are fictitious, and any resemblance to real people, living or dead, is purely coincidental. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author except by a reviewer who may quote brief paragraphs in a review to be printed in a newspaper, magazine, school journal, or university article. This story is about 3 Muslim girls who were subjected to gross injustice, severe violence, and abhorrent persecution by Muslim men, religious leaders, Sharia court judges, and police officers in the Islamic community and the religion of Islam and its hostile, hateful, and abusive teachings against women's rights, which are innumerable. For example, beating of women, child marriage, circumcision of the private parts of Muslim girls, which is known as female genital mutilation or FGM, slaying them in honor killings, inequality between males and females in inheritance, testimony in court, marriage, divorce, men's guardianship over women, controlling their lives and destinies as if they are minors, physically handicapped or mentally retarded, and forcing them to wear the hijab, niqab, or the humiliating burqa as if they are scary ghosts. Muslim men are allowed by the Quran to have sex or rather rape without the need for marriage captive women of war such as wives, daughters, sisters, and even mothers of the defeated enemies who are called unclean infidels. Islam forbids a Muslim woman to become a president of a country or a boss at work or a judge in court, and she is strictly forbidden to lead men or women in prayer as an imama. Moreover, the Prophet Muhammad said the woman is an unclean creature just like a dog and a donkey, and therefore as a defiled being she annuls the man's prayer if she passes in front of him while he is praying. The Quran likens the woman to the human feces, which both spoils the man's ablution or religious cleansing. Many Islamic countries prevent women from going to school and work, and they are not permitted to drive cars, bicycles, or motorbikes. They are forbidden to practice any kind of sports, and they are not allowed to go to gymnastics, beaches, or swimming pools, cinemas, or theaters, and none of them is allowed to leave the house without her husband or with a muharram man. The woman is forbidden to marry, such as her father or brother. They are also not allowed to fall in love with men before marriage or choose their future husbands or life partners. The story is about the 3 innocent Muslim girls, namely Intisar, Firdaus, and Mona. Chapter 45. The homeless girl meets Nafisa and her adopted daughters. The so-called disobedient Muslim wife, fleeing from the verdict of obedience of the Sharia court, stood near the largest mosque in Sudan for some time, wondering where she would go next. The words of His Eminence, the Blessed Imam, still ring in her ears like a death sentence passed by a cruel judge or a prophecy uttered by Satan the devil. You have run away from one man, and you want to be the woman of many men. Which of the 2 choices is better for you? Intisar remembered the bitter experience of her first night on the streets. How lustful men haunted her all night like evil ghosts. How can she get through another night without falling into their hands easy sex prey? She knows she now stands at the moving sand of the desert or a crossroads. One way takes her to prostitution and the other way to suicide. The ground she is standing on can open up at any moment and swallow her up. She can't go back where she came from. Her feet rooted on the ground in front of the house of God. Trying to escape her time is up. Her life hangs on a thin thread that can cut any moment and plunge her into the deep ocean of despair and suicide. While she was standing like a statue near the largest mosque in Khartoum, the homeless girl who was rejected by the imam and the community and wounded in the face suddenly heard a female voice speaking to her. "Are you okay, my beloved daughter?" Intisar raised her head and saw a woman standing near her. She is elegantly dressed and looks like an extraordinarily rich woman. "I saw blood on your face. Can I help you, my sweetheart? I know a medical clinic near here. Can I take you to the doctor?" "Yes, madam, I need someone to help me. I'm a newcomer to this city. Please do not address me as madam. You can speak to me as your precious mother. You can also call me Nafisa." I have many daughters like you. Thank you, Nafisa. When the rich woman heard the homeless girl's wounded lips uttered her name, Nafisa, she took her hand and led her forward. While walking, the mother, Nafisa, begins to learn more about her sweetheart new daughter. Now tell me, what is your name, my love? My name is Intisar Ibrahim. You must be a stranger in the city. Am I right, darling? Yes, my mother, Nafisa. But how did you know that? From your dress. No girl of your age in the city wears such a long dress that covers her body from head to toe. Girls here love to reveal some of their hidden beauty. The homeless girl could not comment on her new mother's words. Where did you come from, Intisar? From the city of Gedaref. Gedaref is the land of the rich. Yes, Mother Nafisa, but I come from a poor family. Why did you come to this cosmopolitan city? Do you mind if I don't answer that question now? Not at all. But at least tell me where you live. I don't have a home. You have no shelter. Then where do you spend your nights? Someone stole my bag. I have no money, home, or relatives in the city. I spent last night wandering aimlessly on the streets. Many men harassed me sexually, and some of them tried to rape me, but I managed to escape from them. My sweet daughter Intisar, your sad story made my heart bleed. From now on you don't have to worry about anything. Just forget about last night, and think you've come to the right person. I will solve your problem. I will provide you with shelter and food. Thank you, Mother Nafisa, says Intisar happily. Look, my sweetheart, we have arrived at the clinic. Let the doctor treat your wounds first, and then I'll take you home. Along the way, the mother Nafisa did not leave the homeless girl's hand. Intisar's heart was touched by her kindness. She liked the good woman, except for the way she chewed her gum. The loving mother chewed her gum in a way that upset her new daughter. Another thing that caught Intisar's attention was the way the rich woman kept looking around her as if she was expecting to see someone. When they entered the clinic, the mother Nafisa spoke loudly to a beautiful reception girl. Please, honey, take us to the doctor's room. My beloved daughter Intisar fell from a speeding bus, hurt her lips and forehead, and bled profusely. Please, madam, wait for your daughter's turn. My daughter will bleed to death when the doctor sees all these sick people. Dr. Assam knows me personally. Just tell him Mum Nafisa has an emergency. Tell him she has with her one of her beautiful daughters who is seriously injured. The receptionist entered and exited with the permission of the doctor. Please go inside, madam, with your injured daughter. Dr. Assam will see your wounded daughter. I know Dr. Assam is always ready to help. Then the mother Nafisa pulled Intisar by her hand and took her inside. Dr. Assam, my sweet daughter Intisar is bleeding to death. She jumped from a speeding bus and seriously injured her face. Please, doctor, save the life of my beloved daughter. She is the most beautiful girl I have ever met, and I adopted her as my daughter. Well, Mother Nafisa, I will take care of your daughter. Please, young lady, lie down on this operating table. When Intisar stretched her sexy body on the long table, Dr. Assam was surprised to see her barefoot. He had never seen such a beautiful Arab girl in his clinic come without her shoes on. I think you forgot to collect your daughter's shoes when she jumped off the speeding bus. Don't bother with her shoes. This is how teenage girls nowadays show their anger. They just love to run away from their homes without putting on their shoes. If they did not quickly escape, their enraged fathers or brothers would kill them in brutal honor killings. Those stupid Muslim men value their honor more than the lives of their daughters and sisters. In the West, girls sleep with their lovers and get pregnant without marriage. Then they give their illegitimate children to their parents to raise them for them. No one kills them for honor killings, and they do not call their children illegitimate or bastards. Whose unmarried girls did they have sex with and got pregnant? With men or with dogs? Dr. Assam smiled at the strange words of the mother, Nafisa, and shook his head in astonishment. He could not answer her daring question or refute her line of defense of the runaway girls. He just examined Intisar and smiled again. Her wounds are not dangerous at all. They are just small injuries. The bleeding has already stopped. After that, the doctor cleaned the wounds and put some medicine on them. I don't think she needs to come back again. Then Mother Nafisa opened her handbag, took out some money, and handed it to the doctor. This is double what I usually receive from my patients. Do not care about that. You deserve more than the little money I gave you. Once again, the homeless girl was touched by the kindness and generosity of her new mother. She finally felt that she had found the right woman who would give her a good shelter. Then the tender mother took her new daughter by the hand and led her out of the clinic. When they got outside, she stopped the first taxi driver who came in their way. The kind mother told her new daughter to get into the taxi first. Then she entered and sat next to Intisar. Please, taxi driver, take me with my beloved daughter to the area near the tombs of the Awlad Sharifi. Inside the taxi, the homeless girl is the one that started talking. I don't know how to thank you, Mother Nafisa, for the good you have done for me. I did not do anything. Anyone who saw you while you were bleeding profusely from your lips and forehead would have helped you too. However, I find you to be an incredibly special person. Thank you, my sweet daughter. Intisar remained silent for a while and then started talking again to her kind and loving mother. Mother Nafisa says, Yes, my sweetheart Nazora. By the way, I always like to give my daughter a cute nickname name. You said you have many daughters. Doesn't your husband object to you taking me to your house? After all, you didn't know me before. You found me on the street. You are wrong, my love. I am a widow. I lost my husband 10 years ago. I am also a childless woman. These girls are not my real daughters. Like you, they are girls who are either homeless or fleeing from their families who tried to kill them in honor killings. So, they came to this big city looking for jobs and places to stay. I found them wandering the streets homeless, and then I adopted them as my daughters. After that, I helped them find a place to live and work. I know adoption is not allowed in our Muslim country, but who cares about these inhumane religious restrictions? Not only did I adopt them, but I also changed their names and gave them the name of my late father, Jabbar al-Maksura, who was the holiest Muslim saint in Sudan. On this day, people go to his blessed shrine and dome in the city of Omdurman to receive healing and blessings from him. Are all these girls now staying with you at your house? Yes, they live with me. They love me and treat me the same way they treated their mothers. Do you charge them for rent and they pay you for the food you give them? Yes, I take money from them. Whatever they get, they share with me. I never charge them more than 50% of their monthly income. But they must be highly qualified girls to work in this big city. Believe me, my beloved Intisar, none of them is as highly qualified as you are. You outshine them with your outstanding qualifications. How can you say that, my dear mother? I've never worked before and I didn't even finish my 12th grade. You don't need a certificate or experience to work in Khartoum City. You just need to be a smart and obedient girl for me and I will do the rest. I have many contacts in the city. I will just pick up the phone and call one of my clients and you can start your business right away. Believe me, my dear Nazora, in less than 6 months you will be adorned with gold from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. When we get to my house, you will see how my daughters are adorned with pure gold and wearing the most expensive dresses in the city. Intisar was overjoyed at the promising job and wished in her heart to start her work as soon as possible. She knew the importance of money and shelter from her bitter experience last night. She longs for a bright and beautiful future with her imprisoned lover. She told herself that Sammy would appreciate her new job and that he too would join her in Khartoum City after his release from Gaddarif prison. Then they can collect enough money and travel somewhere outside Sudan to a beautiful Western country where they can live happily ever after without harassment from bad guys, Sharia court, and police power. Thank you, Nafisa. From today onwards, consider me your real daughter, Intisar. No problem, my love. I just want you to be an obedient girl and listen to my advice. I will listen to you. Whatever you tell me to do, I will do for you. I know you will not disappoint me. I will never disappoint you. Listen, Intisar, Mother Nafisa said, and then gave her new daughter a serious look. I knew your problem more than you told me. What do you know about me? I know that you are a girl who ran away from home because your parents wanted to marry you to a man you do not love. Most likely you have another handsome young man as a lover. How did you know that? To be honest with you, my love, I saw you when you came out of the zoo. I followed you to the largest mosque in the city. Then I stood and watched you from a close distance until I heard your conversation with the imam of the mosque. Why did you follow me? Because no sane girl would walk the streets without shoes on such a hot day. Today the temperature reached 53 degrees Celsius. So, I followed you to see if you were a crazy girl or in trouble. I wish you had spoken to me before I met the imam of the mosque. Just forget about that hypocritical imam. All these religious leaders are hypocrites. These kind of religious hypocrites just love to preach. Whether they are Muslims, Christians, or Jews, they are all the same in their hypocrisy. Religion for them means making money and lots of it. You're right, mother. Always ready to help. Listen, my sweetheart Nazora, when we get home, don't tell any of your sisters about your problem. Okay, Mom. After half an hour's drive, the tired and runaway wife began to feel sleepy. Then she fell asleep in the lap of her tender mother. It took the driver an hour and 40 minutes to get to the rich woman's house. Her house is located at the end of the city, near the tombs of Awlad Sharifi. Intisar is then awakened by her new mother, Nafisa. When she got down and looked around, she saw an empty space ahead except for a long row of houses. Are there homes beyond this empty space? No, my daughter. Our house is the last on this side of the capital city. There are only tombs of Awlad Sharafi. If you get close to those graves, you will only see dangerous wild animals, beetles, and creepy zombies that come out of their graves every night and hunt down the people who dared to come there. These words filled Intisar's heart with fear, terror, and panic. Wherefore, she quickly turned her face away from the desolate tombs. After that, the kind lady paid the taxi driver twice the fare he had requested. The homeless and runaway girl was surprised by the way the rich woman carelessly disposed of her money, but decided not to say anything to her. Then the kind mother took Intisar's hand and led her to the door. She's holding her like a police officer taking a dangerous detainee to a lockup room. Then Mother Nafisa gently pressed the doorbell. Intisar heard a sweet female voice answer the bell. Who is there? This is one of my sweet daughters, says Mother Nafisa to her new daughter in a whisper. It is I, your godmother, Nafisa, oh my sweet one, and I am also your loving mother. The door opened immediately. When the door opened, Intisar saw a beautiful girl of her age standing in front of them. The girl shook hands with her mother, Nafisa, and smiled at her, but she did not smile or shake hands with the new girl. Dear Mona, is this how I taught you to welcome your new sisters? Why don't you hug and kiss your beautiful new sister, Intisar? Then the girl followed her mother's orders and embraced the new girl. She kissed her forehead as well. The new daughter Intisar felt that the daughter Mona was not happy to see her. Are your sisters all at home, or have they gone to work outside the home? Shadia and Nadia went to work outside the house, while Sulwa and Shanaz worked in their rooms, says Mona. What about you, my love? Is there no work for you today? I did a short shift job in the morning, and I'm going to work outside at night. Who phoned you and invited you to his residence? Wat Hasuna called me on the phone and invited me to his house. He promised he would come in his car and pick me up at 9 o'clock at night. Since you are free now, I want you to help your new sister, Intisar, to take a shower and change her clothes, and then make her a delicious meal. She is starving and has not eaten for 24 hours. Her sweet lips and hungry mouth have not tasted food since the time she fled her family's home in the city of Gedaref, when her angry father wanted to slaughter her with his knife in an honor killing because he had discovered that she had a lover. Intisar wanted to correct her new mother's wrong words, but thought it might not be the right time. Okay, my mother. Nafisa, I will help her wash her dirty body and fill her hungry stomach with food, says Mona angrily. Is there any phone call for me, my sweet daughter Mona? Yes, my mother, Nafisa. The wealthy business tycoon Wad al-Bala Jar al-Nabai called you twice. He said that you should contact him as soon as possible. This is good news. Now hurry, honey, and do what I told you to do for your new darling sister. Immediately, the new daughter Intisar began to doubt the nature of her new job and the charitable home. She asked herself what kind of work the two daughters Shadia and Nadia were doing now in their rooms, and the other two girls Sulwa and Shanaz went to work outside the charity home. And what will Mona do to a man in his house at 9 o'clock at night? Intisar thought of a secretary, a receptionist at an airport or a hotel, an office employee, a night telephone operator, a salesgirl in a women's clothing store, a school teacher, a typist, or a nurse in a hospital or medical clinic. But all of these jobs are not commensurate with time and place. As a result, the newly adopted daughter became suspicious of the loving mother, Nafisa, and her other 5 adopted daughters. Nevertheless, she decided to wait for the right time to ask her new mother about the nature of the work. Then Intisar began to admire the exquisite decoration of the beautiful house and the new furniture. Everything looks new and shiny. The armchairs, the glass tables, the lights, the chandeliers, the beds, the bedspreads, the pillows, the pictures on the walls, the artificial flowers, the long sofas, and the red carpet. After that, her eyes turned to Mona's gold jewelry, the expensive dress, and the shoes. She seemed more beautiful to her than the lovely bride she had seen with her handsome groom that morning in the zoo. Then she thought about how her handsome lover, Sammy, would react if he saw her in the future in her new expensive dress and costly jewelry like Mona. Even his greedy rich father may not agree to buy such extravagant jewelry, clothes, and shoes for his daughter-in-law. And she concluded that surely her lover would love her more. Before she could go any further with her imagination, she heard Mona say to her, "Can you follow me to the bathroom?" Then the new girl, Intisar, silently followed the angry girl, Mona, to the bathroom. As she walks, the runaway wife's head spins in all directions like a table fan, wanting to see all the beauty of the house at once. Everything piques her curiosity. When they got to the bathroom, she found that everything a young woman might need for makeup was there. It's more like a beauty salon than a home bathroom. "Do you want to take a cold or hot shower?" Mona asks angrily. "Hot bath," says the new girl. "Then turn on the red tap. Turn the blue tap on too. Make sure you do this to both of them at the same time." "Okay, Mona. Have you ever bathed in a bathtub before?" "Not at all." "That's what I've been expecting since I saw you at the door. From your dirty and ugly clothes, you look like a village girl who has never been to the city before." "I am from a big city called Gadaref. Also, I had visited Khartoum City several times before." "You don't look like a city girl at all. Anyway, fill the bathtub halfway and add this soap powder." "I'll do it. If you need anything, contact me." "Thank you, Mona. Take the time to clean your dirty body because it looks to me like you haven't showered in a month. Your body and clothes smell like dead rats. You also smell like a dead girl just outside her grave." The rude girl's insulting words made the new girl extremely angry, but she kept her righteous anger inside her wounded heart. Intisar thought that the time might not be right to take revenge in kind for the insulting words of the impudent girl named Mona. Chapter 46. Beast Man and Beauty Queen. When the angry girl who became her new adopted sister, Mona, left, the newly adopted daughter Intisar stood for a while looking at the beautiful bathroom. Then she slowly and timidly began to remove her soiled clothes, piece by piece. The stench of her filthy dress, her sweaty bra, and her dirty red little underwear made her understand why the impudent girl had concluded that she had not showered for a month. When she stripped her body of all her clothes, she started walking towards the mirror. Then she started looking at herself. She turned around and looked at her reflection in the large mirror. Intisar has never seen such a full-size mirror in real life. Every part of her naked body was satisfied. When the runaway girl saw her sexy image on the other side of the large mirror, she thought of her handsome lover, Sammy. What will he do when he sees her standing in front of him completely naked with her beautiful and sexy figure on their first wedding night? Intisar was a little ashamed to think that way. She blushed and covered her face with her hands as if she were a new virgin bride on her honeymoon with her handsome groom in a hotel room on their first wedding night. Suddenly, she remembered her shower and immediately threw off the brainwave. She walked over to the bathtub and looked at it. It is beautifully designed in pink and white marble. She has never seen a bathtub except in some Bollywood movies when the beautiful Indian actresses took a bath in it. So, The naughty girl decided to imitate one of those gorgeous Indian Bollywood film stars whom she saw while she was taking a shower in a hit movie. With this idea in mind, the beautiful fictional Sudanese heroine turned on the taps. The Great Basin began to fill. Meanwhile, Intisar began examining all the tiny perfume wicks and makeup bottles on the shelves. She opened each bottle and examined its fragrance. Every product in a container she loved so much that she poured some all over her sexy naked body. Suddenly she saw the bathtub overflowing with water. Intisar rushed to it and turned off the 2 taps. Then she picked up the soap powder and dumped half of it into the warm water. She shook the water with her hands until the tub looked like it was covered in cotton. Slowly and carefully, the beautiful Sudanese heroine immersed her naked body in the tub. She is afraid of drowning inside the big bathtub. She can't swim and knows she can drown in her basin. When her fear subsided, she began to feel great. She becomes as happy as a teenage girl realizing her gorgeous beauty and sexy body for the first time. Then she started imitating what she saw the beautiful Indian heroines do in the movies. She first stretched, raised and lowered her sexy legs. She did the same with her hands. She even touched and fondled her big breasts. She also stroked their nipples and other sensitive parts of her naked body. This made her sexually aroused and prompted her to use her middle fingers and masturbate gently in her hairy pussy. After feeling completely sexually satisfied, she started throwing soap bubbles in the air. In this way, the runaway girl spent a long time in the bathtub until the rude girl knocked on the door and called her out. Mona brought with her 3 beautiful dresses and underwear for the Sudanese heroine. Intisar chose the best of them. After the selection was done, the sassy girl started working on the face, nails, and hair of the new pretty girl. The great difference in the beauty of the 2 girls made Mona hate Intisar bitterly. The makeup session took longer than the shower time. When the makeup was finished, the new girl stood in front of the mirror and looked at her beautiful picture. The lovely girl Intisar understood why the sassy girl Mona wasn't happy to be in the charity house. This thought again created doubts in her mind. It became clear to her that beauty is an essential quality that is imperative for obtaining a high advantage in a new job. Then the fugitive girl understood why her new mother had told her when they were in the taxi that she had more qualifications than her other adopted daughters. Therefore, Intisar decided to demand full knowledge of the job description before accepting her mother's new offer. After everything was done, the beautiful Sudanese heroine saw herself in the mirror as a virgin bride getting ready for her wedding. Once again, the happy girl wished that her imprisoned lover would suddenly appear before her, take her in his arms, look into her beautiful eyes, and then kiss her sweet lips. However, her brilliant idea of the handsome boyfriend, Sammy, is interrupted when the mother, Nafisa, enters. "I can't believe my eyes." Mother Nafisa screams happily. "Is this the same runaway girl I saw today standing in front of the zoo barefoot and with a dirty dress on her sweaty body as if she were a mad girl or a homeless beggar?" "Yes, it is the same homeless girl," says the runaway girl. "I don't know how to thank you for your kindness, Nafisa." "Don't say that again, my love. Now go to the dining room and eat your meal. After that, Mona will take you to your room. You need plenty of delicious food and a long rest on a comfortable big bed." "Yes, Mom." Then the happy mother kissed her newly adopted daughter on the cheeks and forehead. She said that she didn't want to kiss her on her sweet lips because she wouldn't like messing up her makeup and removing her lipstick. Then she went back to her room. Meanwhile, the innocent girl followed the sassy girl into the dining room. When the mother, Nafisa, entered her room, she closed the door safely behind her, then picked up her phone and dialed a number. "May I speak with the wealthy business tycoon Wad al-Bala ibn Jar al-Nabi?" "Yes, I am Wad al-Bala, the son of the neighbor of the Prophet Muhammad. I speak." "Hello, Bulbul." "Yes, this is your mother-in-law, Haja Nafisa." "Yes, Mona told me you called twice. I have a surprise for you." "Yes, a beautiful and fresh virgin. More than you can imagine." "Yes, the most beautiful deer I have ever found. You will go crazy when you see her. Not tonight. I haven't tamed her yet. She is very tired. Give her a day or 2. Please be patient and wait a bit. If you insist on your responsibility to convince her." Come late, after 12. So come at 11 o'clock at night. I want her to get a good rest and then be fresh and ready for you. Mona groomed her as a new bride on her honeymoon. Okay, goodbye, dear Sir Wadbala, the neighbor of the prophet. In the meantime, when Intisar reached the dining room, she was starving. Mona went to the kitchen and came back with a large tray of food in her hands. Then she put it in front of the hungry girl. The rude girl was shocked when she saw the new girl start eating. Before you can chew or swallow the first batch, her hands will catch another. Moreover, her 10 fingers held the food like the Chinese sticks and put it in her mouth. She didn't know how to use a fork, spoon, or knife, and therefore she used her own hands. She forced her mouth open more than it could. Her cheeks are swollen like 2 pink balloons. Mona had to go to the kitchen 3 times before the hungry girl felt full and completely satisfied. Then Intisar says it is very tasty food. Do you still need more? The rude girl asks. No thank you, Mona, I am full now. You ate like a girl who hadn't eaten in a week. Also, the way you ate was like a jungle girl who came straight from the forest. Intisar can no longer tolerate Mona's rude behavior. Is it necessary to tell me all these insults? I only told the truth about you. Please next time keep your truth to yourself. The sassy girl wanted to say something, but she controlled her anger. She is afraid that the new girl will inform the mother Nafisa, knowing what will happen to her if that human bulldozer gets angry with her. If this happens to her, the 2 girls will fulfill the Sudanese proverb that says, the hen of the wilderness has kicked out the hen of the house. When the new girl finished her delicious meal, the sassy girl directed her to her bedroom. Sleep is the last necessity that Intisar craves. Therefore, once she got to bed, she fell into a deep sleep and started snoring. Mona turned off the lights and went and told Mother Nafisa that the beautiful bride was ready on her bed. It was 4 o'clock in the evening when the Virgin of Heaven slept. At 11 p.m. that night, a wealthy visitor rang the doorbell. Mother Nafisa opened the door for him. The rich man says in the voice of an ogre, "Oh, my mother-in-law, Nafisa." Then his hands tried to hug the mother, but he could not do so because of her fat belly. He is a short, very fat man with no hair on his large bald head. He is ugly and looks like a scary beast. When he entered, he walked like a duck. His hands are short and sway as he walks. They look like penguin wings. He has a big stomach which made him look like a 6-month pregnant woman. Mother Nafisa tried to hug him, but her hands could not reach behind his fat belly and touch his back. He also has a big ass just like a very fat man. This is because the rich visitor is thick-fleshed and his legs are shaking from obesity. Welcome, Bulbul, the mother, Nafisa, says in a whisper. Where is the virgin girl? Please speak softly. Your new virgin bride sleeps in her room surrounded by her guardian angels. Can I have a look at her? Firstly, let's first have a drink. If she is something precious, I should look at her first, and then I can sit and drink with you. Well, let me check her out before you go there. Then Mother Nafisa went to the room where Intisar was sleeping peacefully. When she entered, the lights came on. She saw her newly adopted daughter in a deep sleep. She is lying on her stomach. Mother Nafisa reached for her and slowly rolled up her dress until it reached her waist. She fully revealed Intisar's legs, her hips, her big buttocks, and her little red underwear, which Mona gave it to her with the new clothes. Then the bad woman came back and invited her wealthy client to come and have a look at the sleeping beauty maiden of paradise. When the obese evil man came and caught a glimpse of Intisar al-Jamil's face and her revealed sexy body completely, his insatiable sexual lust reached an uncontrollable limit. He was aroused and stuck his fat dick like a stick inside his large white jalabia. So, he opened his mouth and eyes and stood like the infamous notorious womanizer Caliph Harun al-Rashid in front of a naked teenage girl in his palace. Mother Nafisa took him out and closed the door behind her. When they reached her room, the wicked pimp lady brought 2 large bottles of beer from Abu Jamal brand and placed them between them. Now tell me, Bulbul, what do you think of her? She is the queen of beauty of the whole universe. Listen, my mother-in-law, Nafisa, this beautiful teenage girl is mine alone. I'll pay you well, but I don't want any other man to touch her. I don't like sharing this queen with another man. Don't worry, my son-in-law. Bulbul, she is only for you. Now tell me how you found her. I always go every Friday to the zoo. I know most of the girls come out there looking for guys at the zoo. Especially those girls who run away from their families when they want to kill them. Most of them come from other cities and become prostitutes in this big city. This is how and where I found her. She told me that she ran away from home because her parents wanted to force her to marry someone she didn't love. But I don't think that's the reason. You know, girls only run away from their homes when their lives are in danger. I think her father or brother found out that she had been conceived with an illegitimate child by someone and wanted to kill her. This means she is a girl fleeing an honor killing. This has become a widespread phenomenon throughout Sudan. Very few men have enough money to marry girls. They just love to fuck them and get them pregnant and then wash their hands of them. Then the illegally pregnant girls are forced to run away from their families to avoid scandals and honor killings. I don't care where she came from and why she ran away from her parents. But the need is precious. I repeat again that whatever money you ask, I will give you. This beautiful and sexy girl is mine alone. I have 4 wives, so I can't marry her. I will make her my concubine and keep her in your brothel. But she must be treated like my lawful bride. No man should touch her or see her but me alone. I have already reserved her for you alone. From today onwards, she is your lawful wife, and you have become my real son-in-law, and I am your mother-in-law, Haja Nafisa, the daughter of Jabbar al-Maksura, who was the holiest Muslim saint in Sudan, and his shrine heals sick people until this day. If I saw her on the street before you found her, Haja Nafisa, I would have kidnapped her and brought her here and fucked her pussy with my big dick. So, she is mine and mine alone. Don't you trust me, O Wad al-Bala, the neighbor of the Prophet? I trust you, my mother-in-law. Now you can pour the beer of Abu Jamal and let's celebrate my secret wedding with the beauty queen. Do not drink a lot, my son-in-law. The virgin bride may try to resist. Don't worry about it. I will rape her if she resists. Even if she screams for help, don't worry about her screaming. All brothels and bars around us do the same prostitution business. My home is not the only brothel and tavern in this area. After the pimp woman and Bulbul, the fat one, make their evil deal against the third innocent girl Intisar, they start drinking beer. The rich man emptied 3 large bottles of beer Abu Jamal into his fat belly and rose to his feet. Then he started walking like a wolf towards his unarmed and unaware prey. His eyes were red with alcohol, and his fat, massive body was burning with uncontrollable lust. He entered the room like a thief in the night and closed the door behind him. Then he slowly walked over to the bed where Intisar was sleeping. He is like a hungry wolf that snuck into the cave of an innocent deer. The innocent girl is still asleep and does not realize the danger that befell her. Intisar is still sleeping in the same position with her body fully exposed. The sight of her bare legs, hips, large buttocks, and little red underwear made the wolf strip of his human clothes and stand naked before her. If she suddenly wakes up and sees a male chimpanzee standing in front of her, she may mistake him for a monstrous beast that has crept into her room. Fear of him may cause her sudden death. The wolf's sexual desire has evolved from lust into frenzy. He was completely overcome by his demonic lust. Then he quickly reached out his right hand and turned her body, and his left hand pushed her dress up to her narrow waist. He could now see her exposed body, big ass, shoulders, and neck. Then he started kissing her back, hips, and cheeks. He became like a hungry cannibal who found exposed raw meat of a human female and began to devour it. While doing this, his nose smells the scent of her body, just as the male animal sniffs the pussy of its female. Then he sat beside her body and pressed against it with his huge body. The heavy weight of his obese body caused Intisar to wake up from her deep slumber in terror. Her first reaction is that she is in the grip of a terrifying nightmare. She thought either the house had collapsed on her or a truck had rammed her down. When the wolf started biting her lips and cheeks, her mind sent her the right message. She realizes that this is an evil man trying to rape her. She opened her mouth and let out a loud cry. She tried to free her legs and hands, but the heavy weight of the fat man made her helpless. The newly adopted daughter continued screaming and calling for help. She called her mother, Nafisa, and her new sister, Mona, over and over again. Intisar does not know that the impudent girl was picked up by an adulterous old man in his car long ago, who took her to his home to feast on her tender body. The screams of the beautiful new bride infuriated her rapist. So, the fat groom put some of his 5 fingers in her mouth and pressed them against the pillow. Immediately Intisar closed her teeth tightly onto his fingers. The man felt her teeth like nails that penetrated his fat fingers and reached his bones. The pain forced him to stop and roll his body off Intisar's body, and he fell to the ground like an overturned bulldozer or an unloading garbage truck. The extremely frightened girl quickly let go of his fingers and jumped to the ground. She immediately stood up and rushed towards the door, opening it. At the door, she found the mother Nafisa stretching out her arms to prevent her from escaping. The frightened girl pushed the evil procurer away and ran towards the outer door. Mother Nafisa fell on her back and her mouth made a big noise. By then the fat groom got up from the ground and followed his lovely bride. When he came out of the room, he stumbled upon the fallen mother, and he too fell flat on her body. The evil pimp Lady Nafisa was smashed and choked to death by the huge heavyweight human beast. She made another loud noise and died instantly of a sudden heart attack. It was then that Intisar reached the outer door. She quickly opened it and ran away. When she turned and looked back, she saw the big man coming after her. His enormous weight could hardly move his stout body forward 1 foot. By then the beast maid, which she became his virgin bride, is a stone's throw away from him as she heads towards the spooky wilderness and cemetery. Chapter 47. The runaway wife spends her second night in a cemetery. Intisar continued escaping from the brothel of Mother Nafisa as she headed towards the wilderness. The rich fat man also kept following her. When she stopped and looked behind her, she saw 2 other men and 2 girls running in her direction. So, she increased her speed. These 4 new chasers are faster than the fat beast man. They were the 2 old men who had been sleeping with the prostitute Sulwa and Shanaz in their room from noon all night. Intisar understood that the bad woman, Nafisa, is a pimp who tried to sell her body to that huge beast man who assaulted her on her bed while she was asleep. Wherefore, she kept fleeing for her honor and virginity. She could feel the thorns and stones cutting through her bare feet like sharp nails. She left the new shoes that the impudent girl Mona had given her in the brothel. She knew and understood that the consequences would be dire if she stopped and tried to remove the thorns from her bare feet. Yet she is too afraid to step into the wilderness at such a late hour of the night. Intisar remembered that Mother Nafisa had told her that there were zombies and terrifying creatures that would come out of their graves at night and attack anyone who dared to trespass on their land of the dead. However, the ghosts of the wilderness and the zombies of the tombs preferred to her than to surrender her body to that huge human monster who assaulted her and tried to rape her in her sleep. With these 2 inevitable alternatives ahead of her, Intisar continued to move forward. Then she looked behind her again and saw that her pursuers were still running after her. The 2 prostitutes are much younger than their elderly clients. Therefore, Sulwa and Shanaz are closer to Intisar than the 2 old men who used to spend the night feeding on their delicate bodies and fucking them for big prices. The fleeing new girl continued to run until she reached the tombs of the Alad Sharifi. Then Intisar opened the gate and entered. She saw a large memorial stone on one of the graves. She rushed and hid behind it. From her hiding place she saw one of the 2 girls reach the gate as well. The bitch came in and then stopped and started looking for the new runaway prostitute. After a few minutes, the hiding girl saw the other whore and the 2 old men join the first slut. When Intisar saw them entering the tombs and advancing in her direction, she picked up some smooth stones and waited for them to approach her. She now knows that she has no strength left in her that could help her run any further. The only weapon she has is to scare them away with stones. She knows what will happen to her if they catch her and take her back to the brothel of that evil woman who has deceived and seduced her with the promise of a job and the safety of charity home. She expected the evil woman to beat her up and have the 3 old men gang rape her simultaneously as punishment for her eloping. Fortunately, her 4 pursuers could not spot her in her lair. They all went the other way. The frightened girl Intisar had remained hidden behind the large memorial stone. Her heart beat fast and loudly like an African drum. She had never felt such fear, terror, and panic in her life. She knows that if they turn around and walk in her direction, they will definitely see her. Luckily, she saw them back at the entrance. They stood for a while and talked to each other. Intisar overheard them and understood from their words that they had inferred that she had escaped from the tombs by jumping over the fence on the other side. Therefore, they decided to forget about her and go back to the brothel and continue their sex orgies and barbarism. At last, with these devilish thoughts in their depraved minds, the two old men and young prostitutes went to the gate and walked away. Intisar could not believe that she had escaped from these three dangerous rapists, their two prostitutes, and the evil pimp, Mother Nafisa. She remained silently sitting in her hiding place until the danger of being caught had completely vanished from her heart and mind. And when she was sure that her pursuers had left her and returned, she came out of her hiding place. Once her first fear left her, the homeless girl found herself facing yet another terror. It is a great terror, far greater than what she has just experienced. It filled her heart and mind with more panic and dread than all the fears she had faced in her entire life. Her terror and fear now result from being alone in the cemetery at night. She knows she can't go to the cemetery alone during the day. Even with others, she was too afraid to go to the cemetery during the day. Whenever Intisar went with her mother Sarah, her brother Osman, and her two sisters, Farida and Firdaus, to visit the grave of her late father Ibrahim, she trembled for fear that one of the dead would come out of his or her grave as a scary zombie or a dark ghost and attacking them. Her memory is filled with many fables and horror stories. Her frame of mind is full of spooky stories about the dead who came back to life as ghosts and zombies and hunted down anyone who dared come to a cemetery at night. She now had two alternatives that she considered: to return to the city or to stay in the graveyard for the night alone. She concluded that the living would be more dangerous to her than the dead. Wherefore, the fugitive wife decided to spend her second night in Khartoum City at the cemetery. Fortunately, there is a bright crescent moon which emits enough light for her to see her way. Then the terrified girl Intisar looked around for a safe place to sit. She saw the tomb on which she stands safer because it is the highest. It's the same grave that just hid her from her pursuers and temporarily saved her life from those evil motherfuckers. So, the frightened girl carefully folded her legs and sat on top of it. She has no shoes on her feet. She is afraid of being bitten by a snake or a scorpion in such a terrible, desolate place. While she was sitting in the shelter of the new grave where fate had led her to spend the remaining few hours of her second night in the streets of the capital city, Intisar's frightened eyes suddenly noticed the name of the deceased. This was written in large letters in memory of the late innocent martyr of love Firdaus Ibrahim Mustafa Jabir. At first, the third, innocent, runaway, and homeless girl Intisar could not believe her eyes that she was sitting on the grave of her late young sister. When she was sure that it was the tomb of Firdaus, she turned into a statue. An indescribable terror filled her heart. She was paralyzed for a few minutes and all her limbs were numb. Her whole body became lifeless. Intisar felt like she died and then rose again. When she had somehow overcome her horrible existential coma, she fell to her knees and prostrated herself over the tomb of Firdaus. She thought her innocent sister's blood had brought all these troubles upon her. Accordingly, she began to cry aloud and ask for forgiveness and mercy from her murdered sister. She is now carrying dirt and pebbles and throwing them on her head. While doing so, she slapped her face and violently pulled her long hair. If she had a knife at that crucial time in her life, she might not hesitate for a second to stab her heart and kill herself horrifically. Nevertheless, she continued to cry and seek forgiveness from her deceased sister. Please forgive me, Firdaus. I know I am the one who caused your untimely and brutal death. I know I am full of selfishness. I killed my brother Osman too. Please, Firdaus, open your grave, then bury me with you. I am a human being full of shame. I don't deserve to live. Intisar continued to cry and seek forgiveness for her deceased sister. She cried and cried until she could no longer cry. At last, When her tears had dried up and her strength gone, she fell on her face and fell asleep on her late sister's grave. Therefore, the runaway and homeless girl, Intisar, spent her second night in the capital city of Sudan in the cemetery with the bones of the dead, including the remains of her late innocent sister Firdos. According to the customs of that Muslim country, the new grave must be broken 3 days after the day on which a deceased relative was buried in it. It is the duty of men to bury the newly deceased, but women have to break the grave after 3 days. Now, breaking the grave does not mean destroying it, but tidying up the mound of earth that the men made over the grave when they buried the dead person. The women should come on the morning of the 3rd day to break the tomb and make it look good. This break was usually done by women who were close relatives and good neighbors of the deceased person. Those who are familiar with the story of the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ from the dead may have an idea of the customs of the countries of the Middle East and North Africa regarding their dead relatives. The Bible says in the New Testament, "And after the Sabbath had passed, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome bought spices so that they might come and anoint him. And very early on the 1st day of the week they came to the sepulchre when the sun was rising." Quoted from the Gospel of Mark chapter 16, verses 1-2. Although Jesus Christ is the only human to have risen from the dead, many people in Sudan still believe that there are some cursed African tribes who have the power to rise from their graves on the 2nd or 3rd day after their death and burial. Such a person is called Baitai if the dead is a man and someone from his grave has risen, and Baisha if a woman has died and raised herself from the grave. It is a kind of scary zombie. The only difference is that the former not only scares people with his frightening and terrifying appearance, but he also harms and kills everyone he meets. So, the zombie may scare you to death with his or her terrifying appearance, but the bogeyman and bogeywoman along with their terrible looks will also kill you. People would be scared to death by this kind of dead and resurrected damned person. Whenever they encountered such a bastard, they would chase him down and stone him to death. In this way, many innocent people were falsely accused of being zombies. Sometimes a living person may be mistaken for a zombie and killed. Therefore, it is very dangerous to roam near the tombs at night. Any group of people who come to bury their dead at night will mistake you for a damned person who has just risen from his grave and then hunt you down and kill you mercilessly. Therefore, when they can catch you, they will kill you brutally. They will not try to find out if you are a living person like them or a real zombie. If they find you alone near the tombs, they will definitely assume that you are the dangerous zombie who has risen from his grave and is looking for someone to kill and eat his flesh. Before you do such evil to them, they will destroy you and make sure that you never come back to life again. They will stone you to death and make a huge pile of big stones on your corpse. They think those big boulders will keep you from coming out of the land of the dead again and hunting down the living. Chapter 48. A young zombie girl is being chased by an angry mob. On that very morning when the runaway wife who had become homeless took refuge at her late sister's grave, some 5 women came at 5:30 a.m. to break the grave of their recently deceased relative. 3 of them are old women and 2 are pretty teenage girls. And it happened, too, that an old woman was on her way telling others a frightful story about a young woman who had recently risen from her grave and was seen by some people as she walked at night near the tombs. Those who claimed to have seen her said she chased them home. While fleeing, they left the body of their deceased relative lying on the ground without burying it until the morning. When the narrator finished her frightening story, great fears filled her heart and the hearts of her listeners. So, with these hearts full of fears and horror, the 5 women arrived at the cemetery on that very morning when homeless girl Intisar took refuge in the grave of her late sister Firdos. She was still asleep when the women came. She stretches out her body and sleeps on top of the tomb. She looks like a young bogeywoman or ragtag of a female zombie that has just emerged from her grave and has taken a bit of a rest before she starts roaming around. The 5 women march in a single file like female soldiers in a military parade. At the beginning of the line, the 3 old women walk, followed by the 2 teenage girls. Each woman carries some kind of grave-breaking tool. The 3 old women walked past the sleeping Intisar without being seen by any one of them. They are busy talking to each other. In fact, All three women are talking simultaneously and listening to each other at the same time. The two teenage girls whisper some secrets to each other. One of the girls tells the other about her handsome new boyfriend. How she had a good time and real fun with him last Friday night at his house, kissing and cuddling and fondling her big breasts, but not having sex by inserting his big cock into her tiny, circumcised virgin pussy. She claimed she was still a virgin and had a small, stitched-up pussy and was completely sealed by female genital mutilation. The other girl is waiting for the first girl to finish telling her romantic and sexual adventures so that she can tell her lies about her handsome boyfriend as well. When they reached 3 meters from the sleeping homeless girl, they saw her at the same time. They began to tremble and utter stuttering sounds and unintelligible words. One of the two young girls collapsed instantly. The other one somehow managed to overcome the shock and let out her voice. Her scream was so powerful it even caused the graves to shake and probably messed up the dead in their tombs. The dead might have mistaken her scream with the last cry of the archangel Israfil, and they would have all risen from their graves, believing that it was the last day for the resurrection of the dead. However, that miracle did not happen, and what happened is also a miraculous phenomenon. She woke up the sleeping girl Intisar and revived the other girl's unconscious body, and the other 3 old women instead collapsed and fell like lifeless bodies. When she opened her mouth again and shouted the hateful word the female zombie, or Al-Baisha, another miracle happened as well. The residents of that area heard her screaming as if she was screaming in their ears, so they all got up from their sleep. Her third shout caused the other 3 old women to rise again and up to their feet. Then the escape began. The first young woman alive to start running towards the gate is the girl who starts screaming herself. She happens to be the talkative girl who has been recounting her secret romance and private sex life with her handsome new boyfriend. Her name is Shaza, her lover is called Shaadi, her cousin who is with her is known as Hasina, and her secret lover is Hassan. These 2 cousins are 15 and 14 years old, respectively. Both girls are engaged to their cousins and are supposed to marry them after a year, though each fiancé having another boyfriend besides her fiancé. It is common practice in Sudan that every teenage girl has a lover, but her parents must choose another life partner for her. She will allow her lover to enjoy her body in every way except sexual penetration. She must keep her virgin pussy intact for her future legal Muslim husband who won't be her lover. If she made any mistake in those securely enclosed private parts, she would either be slaughtered in a maiden honor killing by her father or murdered in bed on her first wedding night by her groom, who discovered she isn't a virgin bride. So only a demented virgin girl could make such a fatal mistake. Therefore, only through violent rape can her lover or any male relative insert his phallus inside her virgin pussy, which is fully secured and zipped and zapped through FGM before the time of her arranged marriage. In this cutthroat race, however, the teenage fiancé Shaza was followed by her 14-year-old cousin Hasina. They're running like they're in the women's 100-meter race at the Olympics. The 2 girls shouted 100 times the hateful name of the cursed zombie girl before they both reached the gate at the same time. Now the third young lady Intisar was awakened from her slumber by deafening shouts as well as rose to her feet. She became very confused and scared and then started running for her life as well. She also wants to escape from the damned female zombie. She runs after the 2 girls to the gate. She is running as fast as she can as if her feet are not touching the ground. However, she could not reach the 2 terrified cousins, Shaza and Hasina, who are flying like the wind. If they were in the real women's race, no other girl could beat them. Both of them will get gold medals. By then the 3 old women are up on their feet and want to escape too. They saw the frightened Intisar running after their 2 daughters and concluded that she had risen from her grave. However, none of them screamed because they thought the zombie girl might abandon their daughters and come and attack them. Of the 3 old women, 2 are the mothers of the 2 teenage girls and the third is their aunt. One of the women suggested that they should all jump over the high fence. Her proposal is approved by the last 2 ladies. So, the 3 old women ran toward the high wall. Under normal circumstances, a person's exit from the tombs through the fence would be second to impossible. Even a ghost may not succeed in jumping over it. Such a fearful person will be hindered by many obstacles such as wires, thorns, broken glass, sharp stones, snakes, scorpions, and many other natural hazards. But the three old women would rather take all those risks than face the accursed zombie girl. When they came to the high wall, they threw away their tools and began to cross the unbreakable fence. Another miracle happened when the three old women crossed the impassable fence in less than 3 minutes. But of course, a lot of damage was done to their bodies and clothes. They made it to outer space, almost every woman half naked and barefoot. Numerous cuts and scrapes occurred on their naked bodies. Their wounded bodies bled profusely. However, they considered all those troubles a great joy when they reached outside the tombs. Immediately they joined their 2 daughters running and shouting 100 times the hateful name, the zombie girl. No woman in that strict Islamic society is allowed to go out into the street half naked like these 3 old women. However, these 3 old ladies chose to run away naked rather than stay and be attacked by the so-called zombie girl. If they succeeded in escaping, they would then not mind receiving 100 lashes on their naked bodies, or their bare buttocks without veils and gowns were exposed in a public place. When the terrified girl Intisar reached the gate, she realized that she was the cause of the 2 girls' fears. So, she stopped running after them. Before she could do anything to correct their misunderstanding, she saw hundreds of people running toward the tombs. They are armed with sticks, whips, swords, spears, axes, knives, stones, bricks, wood, chains, and other unidentified local white weapons. They are old men, old women, young men, young women, teenage boys, underage girls, children, and dogs. They all hold extremely deadly bladed weapons in their hands. They are shouting with one voice the nasty, abominable word zombie girl. Intisar concluded that her end had come. At first she thought of falling and waiting for them to come to her and stone her to death. Despite this, her survival instinct forced her to flee for her life. So, she turned in the opposite direction and started running towards the wilderness. People spotted her and thus started chasing her. She is running at full speed. She flies at the speed of light. She is like a frightened cat being chased by hundreds of dogs. Despite her incredible speed, some of her male pursuers are faster than her. They appeared to her like demons or zombies who had risen from their graves. They also haunt her like visible black ghosts or a crowd in scary Halloween masks. Throughout her life, Intisar did not fear such critical moments. It became a matter of life and death for her. She knows she's a dead girl if she stops. She just kept running without a set goal or known end. She can see nothing in front of her but an empty, endless wilderness. She flees at the speed of light as she hears a crowd of people shouting the obnoxious name, the zombie girl or Al-Batataya. Meanwhile, the supposed zombie girl crossed the water streams and went down the valleys and went up the hills. People are still chasing her. She fell more than once but never stopped. Every time she fell, she quickly got up and continued her dangerous escape. After a while, Intisar became tired and exhausted. She is now running out of gas. She could hear the voices of people approaching her. She is about to give up. But again, her survival instinct urged her to keep running until dropped dead. In the distance, she saw a high wall and some buildings. Unfortunately, these buildings are on top of a mountain. This made things difficult for her, because she has to climb the mountain to reach those buildings and find a hideout or some rescuers. Despite her exhaustion and many cuts on her bare feet, she began to climb the mountain. During her difficult ascent, she was hit with a spear-like stick called safaruk and 3 small stones. This caused her to use up her remaining reserve strength and reach the top of the mountain. When she got to the top of the high hill, she saw a big sign that said, in big letters, a no-go area. Do not approach this place or take photos. Intisar understood that she had reached a military zone. Her eyes traveled along the fence until they stopped at the gate. She saw 2 soldiers in front of the gate standing with their automatic rifles. A large number of people chasing after her also reached the top. The zombie girl saw them and ran towards the gate. The 2 soldiers pointed their rifles at her and shouted in unison, "Stop there or we'll shoot." The words of warning from the 2 soldiers caused Intisar to stop immediately. She saw both soldiers bending their backs and looking insistently at her. Intisar learned that the soldiers would not hesitate to shoot her if she disobeyed their orders. She looked back and saw that many angry people had come too close to her. Her right leg was hit by a stone. Safruk's stick hit her on the back. Intisar understood that she had fallen into a trap. She faces a difficult dilemma. She must choose death either by the stones of the angry mob or by the deadly bullets of the soldiers. A large stone hit her on the shoulder and shook her body. It caused a lot of pain. Intisar took one of her legs and brought it forward. Then she lifted her other leg and placed it in front. She felt many stones, bricks, and sticks falling near her. Some hit her and some did not. The ones they scooped passed around her body like stray bullets. Stones and bricks fly towards her like flies, and mosquitoes fall near her like heavy raindrops. She started advancing towards the two soldiers. She understood that she would be killed either by stoning or by a body riddled with bullets. Finally, Intisar preferred death by the bullets of the two soldiers to the stones of the crowd of madmen and crazy women. One of the soldiers equipped his gun and took a step forward. The other soldier saw that his colleague was about to shoot. He knows that the frightened girl will turn into a pool of blood in a few seconds. He concludes that the beautiful teenage girl is another victim of honor killing. Then he saw Intisar heading towards them. A fellow soldier pulled the trigger and fired. Intisar's body would have been riddled with hundreds of bullets if the other soldier had not deflected the Kalashnikov's firing. He dropped his machine gun AK-47 and jumped on his colleague's Kalashnikov and saved the life of the frightened girl. At that decisive moment, Intisar passed the two soldiers like a missile launched from the ground to the ground and entered the camp. She is probably the only human in the entire universe who has defied the orders of these two fully armed soldiers who follow the military maxim of shoot first, ask questions later. A verdict